people. If you know how to talk to people,
Hmm.
you'll get a long way. And the problem now sometimes with a lot of newer officers is they grew up in the text era where they're not used to talking to people, you know what
Oh,
I mean? So it can be kind
yeah.
of difficult when they get out of police academy and they gotta say, they're the coach, they call their coach, their field training officer is trying to let them know, like, you got to be able to talk to people, you know, and that's
What do you recommend for those young officers and how they can get better?
really talking to people. Like if you go into a store or something like that, like when I'm in uniform and I go out, if I go into a store or something, I speak to everybody in there. I just want that. I really wanted to get that positive vibe from from the police department because I know I'm like an ambassador for the department, number one, and then number two for the city. So if I can speak to somebody, make them feel comfortable, maybe they strike up a conversation. Hey, do you know so and so or blah blah blah? It just makes them feel more comfortable, and then you can kind of strike up a conversation about something else. So we may talk about the Bengals. Talked about the draft with a guy today. He had a Bengals hat on. I was like, "Who you think we get tonight?" And he was like, "Oh no, man. Oh, we get a defensive lineman or offensive lineman." So we kind of had like a little 5-minute conversation today, um, inside of United Dairy Farmers. But just little stuff like that, it just gets you more comfortable. Um, and also, like right now, I do like public speaking. It's part of my job, like at the community council meeting. So like first few times I was nervous as hell, like started sweating, like sweat beads, and I was like, oh, oh. So I mean, like if you can get into some type of like just challenge yourself, with some uncomfortable situations, and I feel like the more and more people do that, then the more they get comfortable, being out of their comfort zone, so to speak.
Do you, well, with kids my age and people my age, like everyone, texts and, sends messages through DM. So it is kind of interesting. Do you notice a difference when you're talking to kind of a millennial versus someone who's
For
older?
sure, for sure, without a doubt, because a lot of times, like my mom's, she's like in her 70s now, and she used to not text, but now she's realized that like it's a lot easier. It is a lot easier to text somebody than it is to pick up the phone and call. But you still have to have that, especially for like your family members. You still have to be able to call and exchange some words instead of just having everything through text, which takes a little bit more time and is a little more challenging with everybody's busy schedules. But you still want to get that daily or weekly interaction with everybody.
Do you think people get intimidated when they see you in public with your uniform on?
Yeah, some people do. I try not to. I try not to have that happen. That's why I try to smile at people, give them a nod, even if we don't speak. I just give them hey, how you doing? And just kind of keep it moving, or give them a smile or something like that. Because it's a lot. You know, I think, like I said before, we do have a duty as police officers, just to kind of shed a good light on the city and be ambassadors for people, for the city and for the department. And I think that goes a long way. I think it's our responsibility to do that. So I think if we do that as collectively as a whole, then we'll get a lot further here in the future as far as building, community relations, police and community relations.
How do you continue to build trust between, the public citizen and then a public service worker like a police officer or firefighter
Um,
like you?
I think if you try to come meet people where they're at, like, and you obviously you don't want to be too judgmental, but we do this every day, so you can't like let the 5 interactions that you had before this particular call come into play at all. You know what I mean? You kind of let that go. Every call is a new call, it's a new situation, it's a new interaction. And you kind of like if somebody really, honestly, if somebody pissed you off or really got under your skin, you have to let it go because this is a different situation where you now have an opportunity to handle the situation totally different, and a lot of what goes into it is how you goes back to that communication factor of how you communicate with them is going to probably dictate which road the interaction goes down. And I think what we get hung up on a lot of times is, everybody has an ego. Everybody wants to be right. But if you can just mutually agree to disagree a lot of times, to kind of put things to bed, and kind of resolve the issue or whatever the conflict is at that particular moment, then that goes a long way. And my job is more so about building those relationships and having that positive community reaction, where it be the fathers, the breakfast with the fathers breakfast that we do, the community council meetings and stuff like that, to where they're actually able to just come up and shake my hand and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or, this is where I live. Is there anything going on that street I should know about? So I want them to feel comfortable, coming up to me. Now, if I was just standing there straight face, like no emotion, you know what I mean? That would be, for me, that would be intimidating, because it's already intimidating when you see all the gear and stuff that
Yeah,
we have on, radios, tasers, guns, stuff like that could be
yeah,
intimidating. But if
yeah.
you have a smile on your face and you look approachable, then I think that'll go a long way as well.
Hmm. One of the major issues facing, I feel like the country, and then specifically people my age, and this has affected people close close to my town and my life, has been like the fentanyl crisis, especially amongst young kids taking, hard drugs. What is the, not police message, but what do you see from your side of the aisle on that aspect?
Well, um, well, obviously, I've seen a lot of families, kind of torn apart and destroyed, due to fentanyl, heroin. Now we got a major influx of crystal meth here, Cincinnati, which is kind of driving a lot of our um, drug addiction here. But we have a big social services push here. We have a group that's called the Hamilton County Heroin Task Force Quick Response Team. So what I do is, if I, like, say I have a large contingent of homeless people in the area that I cover, and a lot of those people are addicted on opioids or crack cocaine or crystal meth. So if I come and I speak to someone, I introduce myself. I say, hey, like, are you struggling with addiction or anything like that? Is that why you're out here? Is that why you're experiencing homelessness? A lot of times they'll say no, but you can kind of tell. And so I'll say, well, hey, I know some people that will come out here right now and help you try to get housing, help you try to get into a clinic where you can detox, help you try to get into a methadone clinic, help you get a birth certificate, secure. I'm sorry, so you can get assistance with your addiction. And the first couple of times they may blow me off, but if I keep pushing it, and they keep seeing me show up, and they know, like, hey, I'm coming from a place of empathy. I'm not judging them. I'm not trying to say that, I'm above you because I'm a police officer or anything like that. And persistence is the key, and I've had a lot of success with that here recently. I just took over a couple different neighborhoods from where I was at back in September. I switched sides of town, so over here it's really helped out a lot to have just that resource of people that, hey, they do this is what they do. I'm a law enforcement officer, but what they do is get people engaged with services, mental health services, and they just kind of wrap their arms around them and everything, walk them through the process, give them rides to take care of all these different things that they may need to get their lives back on track, to kind of kick the addiction.
So because I've noticed that I was just in San Francisco and I live 30 minutes from Chicago, and the homeless population is, I mean, you see it on Twitter and you see it, all over the social media. It seems like it's growing, and it seems like there's a lot of mental health issues that come with it, and a lot of addiction issues. You've obviously noticed
Yeah.
that with what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of it is mental health based, but then you have the, obviously, on top of the mental health, you do have the drug addiction problem as well. So we have Greater Cincinnati Behavioral is kind of like our go to for mental health services here. So they also work with the quick response team as well to get people engaged with mental health services that they may need, because a lot of times they may be using because it helps them mask their whatever their illness may be, or the drug that they're using actually elevates what mental health uh, crisis they have going on. So being able to contact both and having somebody that can come out and get them engaged and stay engaged with them, because there's going to be ups and downs. People that suffer from addiction they're gonna have their highs and lows, and they're gonna, it's a constant battle. So as long as they stay engaged, and the people that are the ones in those roles are constantly trying to, contact people, text them, call them, reaching out on social media to say that they're there for, to offer any assistance, then they feel like, hey, somebody does actually care about me and I'm not in this alone. And, there's always success stories. There's stories where there aren't as successful, but, we got to keep pushing and try to help everybody that we can get the help that they need and deserve.
Yeah, mental health has become, such a obviously major issue in the country, and I think that